Thank you guys for joining us for episode 87 of Black Coffee and Crown. We're going to pray about that number because, we're a week off. Somewhere in there, the number's off, but we're going to pray about that. Amen. All right. So we are back with another show this week. Last week, we talked about Pamela Hupp and she's like the most evil person on the planet. But we got another contender in here. This guy, he's in there. He was, the FBI had him on the top 10 most wanted list. So he might be on our top 10 list at some point if we compile one. Yaser Said, who in
our own
top
list of people that we think are the worst top 10. We should do that.
We should do a top 10.
He is definitely going in there.
He's a contender for a top 10. He back in 2008 murdered his two daughters in the back of a cab in Texas. So we'll talk about him. But since we've been back, we normally don't talk about other stories, but this week we have to. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news. Something that happened today, I shouted, I was on the phone with Brandy. She had no idea what I was talking about, but Jackie, I know you do. But first, we're going to talk about the Queen died. Queen of England died. A lot of people are like, whatever about it, but she was a world figure. You had to be under a rock if you didn't know the Queen. You can't at this point, through all the pomp and circumstance, you can't have not seen any of the ceremonies going on, from the dinners, the processions, the lying in state for 4 days. Well, if you've been on social media, it's in your timeline. It comes up on it's gonna, you might skip it, but it's somewhere on your timeline. So a lot of people are conflicted about her death, but it's weird to me. And I'm gonna say that, and the reason why I'm gonna say it's weird is, of course, England at some point, or the British Empire, was the empire that the sun never set on the British Empire, meaning that there were colonies and territories around the world. So there was always somewhere around the world where the sun is shining on the British Empire. So the king or queen is always going to be a symbol of that. And, a lot of people celebrating her death. But my thing is, why weren't you praying for her to die in the first place? I don't know. It's just weird to, that once someone dies, you celebrate.
I don't think you should pray for someone's death, but
you celebrate them being died. I mean, dancing and just literally dancing that she's dead. And so what's the difference? Now, that's just my thing. What's the difference? You didn't have this 3 weeks ago when she was still 96 and living, but now you have celebrations now. And I'm not condemning or judging anybody for how they feel about it, because that's how you feel. It is what it is, because if the Cheeto in chief should,
I guess there wasn't nothing to celebrate if she's still alive. I don't know. I'm just guessing why they might be clogging down the road. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, but there's that. The girl, I posted this on my personal page, but there was a girl who was 17 years old, killed her sex trafficker, stabbed him 30 times. She was made to pay restitution to his family, according to the Iowa state law, made to pay $150,000 restitution to his family and 600 hours of community service. The man was proven to be her abuser and sex trafficker. She's 17. But justice is on her side. People are on her side. There was a GoFundMe to help raise the funds to pay the restitution. Within an hour, $300,000 was raised. And I think as of today, I saw something was over $500,000. So girl, go ahead and live your life. She has cushion.
I'm sure they'll probably come back saying, oh, she can't use that money to pay it. Watch. It'd be something stupid.
Yeah.
They said that the time that she killed him, he was asleep. So he was in a situation where he was unaware, I guess, that he was being attacked or whatever. But I'm sure she couldn't have overtaken him
while he was awake.
Yeah. or might have had fear that he would find her and kill her when he found her.
But now he did. So you have no fear any longer. He is gone.
Real celebration.
Yes, that's a reason to celebrate.
If that was all his life was worth, then his life was very cheap.
Yep.
Very.
Yep. And I pray that she gets therapy and is able to live the best possible life that she can. Now, this last part, Brandy didn't know what I was talking about when I was shouting on the phone. I just happened to scroll through some news, and Adnan Syed walked out of court today, a free man after 23 years.
She did.
Oh my God.
Yes, she did.
Brandy doesn't know, but she's not familiar with the case. But if anybody is like true crime podcast fan, when true crime podcasts weren't a thing, there was one podcast called Serial. One. And it blew everybody out of the water with the writing, the structure, and this. What they talked about was Adnan Syed, who I think it was in 1999. He was convicted of the murder of his girlfriend. Her name was Hey Min Lee, in Maryland. And the podcast came in several different parts, and each one was intense, and you're into it. And Brandy, I would anybody go and find that podcast, because this is the thing that started it all. This is why Jackie and I started doing this, because of that podcast. It's amazing. You know, if you have a curious or mind, or, you know, you're skeptical, this case makes you as skeptical as you can be.
Yep.
At some point, it's, to me, yeah, this young woman lost her life. Someone killed her. And her family.
It wasn't him.
I don't think it was him.
I don't think it was him.
But whether or not you think it's him, you do recognize in that podcast and in this case, because once you start listening to the podcast, you're going to start digging other places. You do realize that they fucked this up from the start. They, and like a lot of other cases, they chose someone to convict. And no matter what came out, they were either going to suppress it or just not pay attention to it. They were going to convict Adnan. So for the, you know, since I heard about this had to be in 2017 that I listened to that podcast or something like that. You know, he had already been in prison for forever at that point. He had no hope. Like, he's talking to the host of the podcast, and I forget her name, but she did such a wonderful job. He's talking to her from prison, and he basically tells her, I don't, like, you can do this and you could talk about it, you could do all this research, but it's not going to do you any good. Shortly after the podcast came out and publicity was generated, he did get, you know, a couple more days in court, but basically the Supreme Court finally said, nah. But today, the district attorney is petitioning to throw the case out, like just throw it out altogether, just because of the mess that they created with this case. There was witnesses who they did not interview. He had a solid alibi. The guys who were witnesses for the prosecution, sketchy. I mean, sketchy is a good word when it comes to this. They were beyond sketchy. But today he walked out. So at some point we will come back and talk about Adnan Syed, but he is out after 23 years. And I just don't even know what to do about that. Like, I just don't know what to do about that. Like, you would swear that like I knew this man, because I cried listening to this podcast, because you heard the helplessness in his voice. And so I was just like, you know,
definitely it takes the time to listen to it.
Yeah, it is phenomenal to listen to that podcast. All right, so congratulations, Adnan, on your release. All right, so.
And really quickly, let me tell you what I did to myself today. So I do listen to podcasts because I have to commute to work due to a stupid car accident. And why has the John Benet Ramsey case. Been coming all on my podcast. Now I have to listen to all of them and drive myself insane for trying to figure out something because they keep saying they're coming out with new stuff and it drives me insane because I have to listen to them. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop
find
myself.
that there's any new information that you hadn't heard before?
Other than the fact that now the dad and the brother are saying that they want to go ahead and reopen our case because that is now something that can be done and try to DNA test everything. But to just have to relive that damn story.
I think the brother did it.
I do too, and I'm strong on it.
I think
But
the brother did it.
just having to re-listen to it, all it does is just constantly confirm that. But we'll talk about that another time. It just really pissed me off because I wasn't supposed to be listening to it. And here I've been listening to it for 3 damn days, 3 different podcast people, and it's driving me just insane because I have to relive these moments and go, why aren't y'all arresting the little boy? But whatever.
They're not. Because and if they do, they'll say that he was insane. He didn't know he had problems. They'll come up with, they got rich people problems. They'll come up with something.
Yes, they will.
They'll come up with something. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Yaser Said. Yaser Said. I heard about this story some years ago. I don't know if it was on American Justice or Forensic Files or Snapped. I'm not sure, but I did hear about this. It happened in Irving, Texas, in the DFW area, in and around this area. They moved around in DFW quite a bit in the last few years before the girls were murdered. But basically, Yaser Said was an Egyptian-born American. He came to the States in 1983. He was a taxi driver, kind of jack of all trades, kind of thing like that. He had 3 brothers. They eventually came as well. He married an American woman, Patricia Owens, in 1987. From what I've read, she was like 15 or 16 and he was 29.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, yeah, she married her. See, I'm saying she dated the brother. Yes, she married.
And I can see, based on the interviews and that she did, that it seems like she was trying to escape her home life. She was trying,
Well, she said that. She said she was.
Yeah. He's Muslim and she converted, although now she's saying that she's Christian.
She said
they married in 1987, and in the next 3 years she had 3 kids. Like, she's spitting them out. So she had Islam, Amina, and Sarah. Over the years in their relationship, she claimed that Yaser was very abusive and controlling to her, but only to her. In their most recent interview, she says he was only abusive to her and not the kids, not the girls. And she didn't understand, or he couldn't have never done what he was accused of doing. Bullshit.
Complete utter bullshit.
So there's pictures. There's a documentary called The Price of Honor that is currently on Amazon Prime. And in that documentary, they show pictures of Yaser holding a knife against her neck, and then also showing her with like an assault rifle or something. She says that they were just kind of playing around. He wasn't serious. Like, every time they bring up something about Yaser being abusive or doing something to her, she blows it off. Yet for years, she claimed that he was abusive to her. So I don't understand where she comes from. Like, was he abusive or not? Because so he was abusive, but those times when they showed they
were just playing, just for fun.
Yeah, they were just playing. Okay, so the whole time she's saying that he's abusive, and then not, and then he is, but not really. He was. Listen, in my experience, a man is not going to be abusive to his wife, but not to his children. There is some form of abuse to the children, whether it is physical, mental, spiritually, whatever. There is some sort of abuse to children, because it just doesn't, abuse doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Because they're an abuser. Basically, they're an abuser. They can't, they're going to abuse somebody.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. So everything about what Patricia was saying just pissed me off
The entire time.
When I first heard about this case and what happens and how he kills these girls, I was pissed off about her years ago, and even more so. Back in 1998, Patricia files a case. I think it was in Waco. Files a complaint that Yaser sexually abused Amina and Sarah. She takes the kids, all three of the kids, and she stays away for like 4 months. She goes back to him. Eventually, the girls do say that it didn't happen. They just didn't want to live with their dad. They wanted to live with their aunt. So she goes back. And what she says she admits this in a New York Post article. Well, they posted this in a New York Post article, that she said she felt scared not to go back. Yaser was abusive. You were gone for 4 months.
And some of the things that the girl says were so graphic.
Yes.
Like a kid is not going to come up with that on their own.
No.
Yes.
And if someone told them to say that, I don't think it would have been so
perfect.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been so they wouldn't have been able to repeat it,
to articulate
in the way that they repeated it.
Not at all. Amina she emailed constantly to her boyfriend's mom about the abuse. Also, she wrote a letter within a couple of days of her death to one of her teachers saying that she was afraid that her father was going to kill her, which he did. And so we'll talk about this letter and what happened with that, or why it didn't go anywhere. What happened with that? So, years go by, and, they're American girls. They are Egyptian they're like second generation Egyptians, but they are American in their culture and in the things that they do. They become teenagers. They go to regular high school. Amina gets a job at a store. And this is weird. Yaser has a habit of videotaping these girls. And the focus is, you can tell by the focus, if you didn't know what this case was about, if you just saw these videos and know that this was a father videotaping his kids, you'd be like,
that was a jealous man.
What is happening here? Because his focus is always on their bodies. He makes sounds and noises, and he moans when he's videotaping them. He makes comments about their bodies that's not innocent. They are very salacious and very creepy. And these are his daughters, very young girls. It's enough to make your fucking stomach turn.
In front of Patricia.
In front of them.
Well, in front of their mother. In front of the mother, who, says he wasn't, abusive, which we'll get to later, I'm sure. But in front of the mother. Because you can hear in the background on a lot of the videos, And
also what he does is he gets his son Islam to participate in this mess. There was the one video where the girls are under the covers. I think they were in Egypt, on a trip to Egypt or something. They were under the covers, and he was saying how like you could see their feet or something or whatever. And he was like, no, he tells Islam to take the covers off of them. And I think it's Amina's like, stop, and it's kind of a nervous laughter. And I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but it's kind of like a nervous laughter, like, okay, enough, stop. Islam takes the covers off of her, and then Yaser focuses the camera on her bottom half in her pants, and he moans. And it's not just a clearing the throat moan, it's a moan.
And then he made like a comment about it, like something about her body or something.
Yes. He made a comment about her body. And just think of all the videotapes where that happened. And a matter of fact, after the murder, when they went to go interview or tell Patricia, the SWAT team allowed Patricia to go into the house, get some personal effects. It include Yaser's birth certificate and passport and things like that, and videotapes. They allowed her to take that from the home instead of collecting evidence before she walked in. Okay, that's them. Fast forward, he videotapes Amina at her job. There's a video of him saying, "Oh, she's smiling," and Patricia says, "That's her job. You know, she has to smile." He said, "Well, she's in trouble. She smiled too much at the customers." He was constantly videotaping them when they were at school, when she was at the mall, when they were outside playing. Constantly, like it's just his control was not of a concerned father. It was something else. It was something else, and Patricia let that behavior fly. I think she was completely indoctrinated by this guy.
Well, there's pictures of her with, her head covered, and he has a knife to her neck.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just being silly. We're just playing.
But this is in the middle of you claiming that he's evil and that he's abusive. Like, pick a struggle, sis. You can't have both.
Yeah, I think on that Fox interview she did, she was like, "Oh, he was abusive or whatever," but then she recanted and said that he wasn't. But then when they went to court, then he was again.
Yeah. She just lies the whole time. She's a horrible fucking person. Like, in my notes here, I have Patricia is trash! ! Like, she's absolutely
it's the facts, but
she's trash. Like,
there's no other word for her.
All this.
Hallelujah.
You very, because let me tell you, the way I feel about that woman. You knew, you put them in the car, you knew what's going to happen, you knew everything, you talked to them afterwards, but you were part of it, but
absolutely she was part of it. Into it. Amina and Sarah start dating. He's trying to arrange marriages in Egypt. She's scared. She's like, "I don't want to do this," and blah blah blah. He takes her to Egypt, and he tries to marry off to this 40-something-year-old man. But she wants to date. She has this boyfriend that she met in a martial arts class. They text and write back and forth. He finds one of her letters to what was his name? It wasn't Eddie.
Was it Josh or
Joseph Moreno. And so he finds the letters, and all hell breaks loose at this point. So now he's pushing to get them married, and it just goes downhill from there. He's, to the point where she's in her letters or her emails or her communications or whatever, she's constantly saying how she's scared he's going to hurt her. She doesn't want to get married. And her uncles are no help to her. They're always berating her and talking down to her because she's not listening. And that basically they tell her that her life is going to be a living hell if she doesn't do what the dad wants her to do. Right before Christmas, they leave. And they go to Kansas, I think it was, with Patricia's relatives. Patricia says that they stayed like 4 hours. They drive like 12 hours to get to Kansas, and then they only stay for 4 hours. Patricia was like, "I don't like the vibe." What you mean? No, you didn't like the vibe because your family was questioning, "What the hell are you doing?"
And she probably was getting phone calls telling her to come back.
So then
we already know that she was getting constant phone calls.
Yes. She whole time lied to the girls and told them to destroy their SIM cards, that they were all going to break their SIM cards and they were going to use burner phones. She never gave up her phone. Mm-mm. She probably put her SIM card into the burner phone because she was in constant contact with Islam, the brothers, and Yaser. Constant contact. He always knew where they were. They go to Oklahoma. They get an apartment. Some of the girls' friends come back because, one of the guys had a job, so they come back. She says that Yaser kept calling. Well, she was calling Islam, and Yaser got on the phone, and he's like, I just, I'll just make it better. I want to talk, blah, blah, blah. She convinces Sarah, the younger daughter, like, your dad just wants to talk. She uses Sarah to convince Amina to go back.
My thing is, why leave? Why go through the whole thing of driving and all of that. Do you think she really wanted to leave, and she was coerced back, or was I don't understand why waste time to drive and do all of that to just come right back.
I
To
think
appease
they're
the
part of
girls,
a habit plan.
to appease those girls.
Yep.
Because she knew it had got to the point where they were strongly like, we finna run away. I don't care what you think, what you say, we're leaving, which is what they continually told her. And at that point, she was like, okay, I gotta do something. I gotta do something, because if I be gone too long, then he's
So
gonna
they
get
could still,
upset.
so they could still
Yeah.
control the situation and
Yeah.
pretend like
I
they're
think
running away.
I think she told him, just let them run away and
Mhm.
then I'll make them come back.
Yep.
Let them run away and let them come back. And that's exactly what happened. She uses Sarah to convince Amina to go back. Once they get back to Texas, Amina's like, I'm not going home. This was the day before, like a couple days before New Year's. I'm not going home. Patricia says that Amina called her from her friend's house to come and pick her up. Like she's like, she keeps calling me to pick her up. Why would she call you to pick her up when she didn't want to go home in the first place?
Just lie.
No, the mom was making it
lied.
sound like, oh, she was just going to a cookout. Like, like,
that's
no.
what she did.
Yeah.
The girl was planning to stay. She wasn't planning to leave. When you go to cookout, you go home afterwards. You ain't got to go.
She just was
You got
going
to
over
go
there and
somewhere.
she was ready because she needed, get ready for school and get her school stuff. She just wanted to go over there and hang out for a little while.
She would have said F that stuff.
Yes.
Exactly. Which is what she did.
Well, I mean, but they had already packed up to leave, so she probably had
her stuff with her because she never went back to the house. She goes and she picks her up. She lied about the phone calls because she was the one that was, she was blowing Amina's phone up. She convinces the girls, hey, your dad wants to take you to dinner. He wants to make this okay. He wants to make this all right. That was December 31st. He puts them in the cab. He drives them around. And somewhere in Irving, he takes his gun out and he shoots his daughters. The call that Sarah made to 911 will send chills up your back. She's calling after he has shot her and she says, my father shot me. I am dying. The 911 operator puts her on hold.
No, you know why I remember that? Because he said something to where she even had to say a smart ass comment to him while she was dying. It was like something like to the extent of, are you sure this happened? She was like, well, duh, kind of like a duh. What do you think? I'm making this up or something? I was just like, this motherfucker.
Teenage response. You could hear her gurgling. Mm-hmm. Her sister's in the front seat dead. Yeah. Her sister's dead in the front seat. You can, on the second call or further in the first call, I'm not sure.
I don't think the phone ever hung up. I think because they said the phone was
open for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they couldn't find them if the line was open for that long.
Was it because was it a burner phone?
No, it doesn't matter. You still have GPS.
I thought they kept pinging them in different areas or something.
You can't track a burner phone.
You can't track a burner phone when it comes to the owner of the phone. But a burner phone, all phones, if it has a SIM card, has a GPS. And while it's on, you can at least find where it is. You might
not only that, they knew that he was in the cab.
Yes.
So and they had GPS on the cab.
When it's pinging all over the place, it's because he was moving. So he shot them in one area and then parked in another and got out the car. Mm-hmm. That was pre-planned.
And that's the thing that was crazy to me is you're listening to your daughter gurgling in the back seat and you're just driving easy like Sunday morning and get out and get out like you're going to the grocery store. Like she's in the back gurgling and dying and you just rolling down the road.
And this is the reason why he's probably going to end up on our top 10 list. Mm-hmm. Because this is your issue. These are the fruit of your loins. And you do this, they call it an honor killing, which is basically when family members feel like the daughters, the wives, or some female family member has dishonored the family in some way, defied them in some way, and they uphold the honor of the family by beating them sometimes to death or killing them to restore honor
For stupid reasons.
for stupid ass reasons.
Because I remember there was one honor killing. This is off a little bit off subject, but there was an honor killing for a man's wife because she did not have a son. Like she didn't produce him a son. Now, if we know better, we know that the woman has no control of the sex of the baby, but basically they killed her. It was considered an honor killing because she did not bear him a son. So that's how ridiculous these honor killings are, just ridiculous.
And a lot of the times the wives or the mothers of these women or these girls condone the behavior. Brandy and I talked about, there was a case in Arizona several years ago where the father ran over his daughter repeatedly in the parking lot of a government building or something like that. In the middle of the day, the detective is talking to the mom.
He got ass whooped too.
And he's like, your daughter is in the hospital. Like she's in serious condition. She's like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like she's dying. Your husband did. He's like, that's what she deserves. He's like, you are sick. You are a horrible person. So I totally believe that Patricia knew that this was going to happen. And she even says it. She says in that same New York Post article, I think it came on August 8th of this year or something, August 5th of this year from the New York Post. She says, and I'm paraphrasing, that she kind of had an idea that that's what he was going to do. If you kind of have an idea that your husband is going to take your daughters and kill them in the middle of a damn field in a cab, and you let him take them.
No, Wayne, you didn't. I kind of thought you knew from jump when Christmas time where you was pretending like you were running away with the girls to bring them back. Wayne, you know the whole time what he was going to do with them girls.
You knew.
You knew
Your
exactly.
son knew. Your son knew.
Yes.
Your 18-year-old son knew. Your brother-in-laws knew.
Everybody knew.
And I think the son's slow, but Brand doesn't think so. But
we could talk about Islam in a minute.
Even the slow son knew.
He knew.
He knew.
Now,
He knew.
Interestingly enough, we already know that the whole family was in on it. They talk about how Yaser had a sister who was married to a Westerner. The brothers didn't like it. So they made her divorce him and take her kids to Egypt. Like the husband.
Did she even divorce them, or did she just kidnap her
She
kids?
just left.
No, they got
she
divorced. They got a divorce, and he got custody of the kids. And she was supposed to just, got custody. She was supposed to be like, okay, let me go spend some time with the kids, get stuff. Next thing you know, she's on a flight to Egypt. Patricia said she's seen the kids the last time that she was in Egypt, but the sister has not been seen since. Since she got on that plane to Egypt, she has not been seen or talked about.
Gone.
They killed her when she got there.
Mm-hmm. That was the plan. Tricked her. They tricked her and made her believe, whatever they needed to. And they killed her.
Mm-hmm. They killed her. Just like Patricia allowed a man to kill his daughters. So her family.
And rather if it was to protect herself or not, which it wasn't, because I'm standing firm on that she was and needs to be convicted right along with his ass. At the end of the day, like you faked already that you cared about your kids. So why, if that's the case, like why did you make a difference between them and the slow kid, the slow son name is, which I know why. Let's just talk about it.
The son's name is Islam.
Let's just talk about it. She made the difference between
because
the two.
Boys and males in most all patriarchal societies are honored. I mean, a boy, he could be slow. Maybe he was, but it didn't matter. He wasn't a girl. He's already better. The treatment of Islam, he got he got what he wanted. He didn't have to do anything. He could go where he wanted, do what he wanted because he's the boy.
He was an ass.
He was an asshole. He was.
But when his mama turned on in that documentary, when she sit there and said, "Oh, he never yelled at anybody," and they fucking played that tape. But when I tell you I was dead, because I laughed so hard, because I'm like, she just laughed.
She just lies for no reason.
You just laugh for no reason. Oh, he never would talk to
That's
me.
one thing about the
And it was like, they were
documentary
like,
that
bitch.
that's one thing about the documentary that I kind of liked was that, I mean, they would show her saying something, no tears, no nothing, and then they would show the exact opposite that she said at a different time. Like, lady, you got caught in lie after lie
Let
after
me
lie after
show y'all
lie.
something that pissed me off.
What
Hold on.
tears?
Hold on. Let me show you something that
Was
pissed
that
me
drawing up that with nothing?
hell off the entire damn video. This damn tissue pissed me off the whole time because she's doing this.
Wiping her nose, no snot, no tears,
nothing.
no red eyes.
And she's folding it. She wipes, and then she folds it. It always remains a perfect square. Yep. And then I noticed something. She's doing this in the documentary while they're interviewing for the documentary. She also never looks at the camera.
No.
She never has. She never has a straight view of the camera for longer than 2 seconds. She's all over the place. But then in the Fox interviews that she did shortly after the murder, she had that same damn tissue with no tears. And this is within, listen, there is no, I can't talk about my granddaddy who died in 2010 too long without tearing up.
Right.
Okay. My granddaddy was a hardworking man and lived for a very long time. Did not die violently. Yet I can't. I have an uncle who died in a car accident in 1987. I cannot talk about this man for too long without tearing up.
Right.
Yet your daughters are recently dead by the hands of their father in the most horrible way, and you have no tears. That's amazing to me.
That was one of the most alarming alerts. I was like, this bit has none. I mean, she literally would be like,
she talks about it, and then she looks
the girls and they love their father. He was really good to them. They had a great relationship.
Ma'am.
Like, bitch,
this man.
All right, but
that's your daughters.
Now the anger. That was so
relationship that you thought that they had was a lie at that point. Any relationship from birth until the moment that they passed away, everything else was a lie. Everything else is a setup.
Oh, fake. She knew. She been knowing. I don't know. At that point, now she's trying to paint the picture in which the tears was that recent one interview. She's trying to paint the picture as if he's not a horrible person. He really wasn't this bad. But yet, even though, which I'm sure you'll talk about at court, she was a whole nother person. So, but at the last interview based on that documentary, prior to the court dates, she was trying to paint him off as a normal dad, a loving father.
He was just slightly controlling, basically. He's just a little controlling. No, he was horrible. He leaves. He's on the lam for 12 years. They can't find him. Basically, he had been in Texas that entire time.
That's what I was about to say. You can't say he was on the run or he leaves because he did it.
His brothers hid him out. As a matter of fact, his brother Yasin, who was they say that he was closest to, got 12 years in federal prison for hiding him. His son Islam also got 10 years in federal prison. They were both convicted and sentenced by 2021 for aiding and abetting. The charges weren't aiding and abetting, but that's basically what it was, and also firearms charges. They knew where he was the whole time. The reason why they found him was because they were watching Islam and Yasin. They were watching them, and the FBI was watching them. They took some groceries to a house in Justin, Texas, which is in Denton County. And then they took the bags from the grocery store and drove them like 20 miles to put them in the trash. So they wouldn't find DNA evidence, touch DNA or whatever in the local trash. They drove it. So that's how they knew that he's in that house.
Why do that? Why not just burn the things? Or
Just
that's
dumb.
so stupid.
Just dumb.
I don't think because I think that because they hadn't caught him in so long that they got complacent. They're not gonna catch him.
And which Joseph
bleach
had
them
already
then.
called out that he's close. She had called that. She was like, he ain't far. He's still around here. She started trying to do her own investigating, but they were just that's dumb. But like you said, they got comfortable, like most criminals do.
They're
That's
not
how they
gonna
get
catch me. They're not even, they're not even looking for me. It's not that big of a deal.
I mean, just let the bags pile up like it does at everybody else's house. You got one bag with 85 bags in it.
Right. But the thing is, once your trash is outside, they can go through your trash, and they knew that.
Yep.
The police can
I
go
would have burnt them. I would have soaked them in. I mean, what? I have you a little bleach bucket. It would have got ate up by the. I mean,
I wouldn't have had no trash. I wouldn't
No.
have. But they caught him. He went to trial. He was convicted and sentenced last November. He got life without the possibility of parole. At his trial, he did testify. He said that it wasn't him. He was not in the cab when it happened. He walked away from the cab. He saw two masked people shoot them, and he ran away because he thought that they were coming after him. And he didn't come back because he's a Muslim, and in a post 9/11 world, he wouldn't have gotten a fair trial. But like Brandy said, your girls are in a car and some crazy two people come up,
yep,
and you watch them shoot them. There are 11 shots, 2 to the chest and 9 other shots. Was it Amina that he shot 9 times?
No, he shot Sarah 9 times.
9 times and Amina twice in the chest. That's 11 shots. So you watch somebody shoot 11 times. 2 men shoot girls 11 times, and you just stand there and then you run away?
The math ain't math.
Where did you run to? How
The
did you?
math ain't math.
Because if they saw you, if you were watching, and they would have looked for you, because Amina was in the passenger seat, Sarah was in the back seat.
I think Sarah wouldn't die. That's why he shot her so many times.
Yeah, and she was talking, and he was already mumbling stuff in the background, maybe talking about it, because he was I don't know, but he was definitely mumbling something. So I think the drive, he's already noticing, she's still back there talking.
This is the crazy thing that disturbs me, is that she's still alive and she's on the phone. Do you think he shot her again? Like he shot her a few times and then shot her again? Like when he realized that she wasn't going to die immediately.
Yeah, I do.
And to watch your father shoot your sister, knowing that he's going to do the same to you.
And to call 911 and you say, I'm dying, and they say, hold the line.
Wait, what? What? I'm not ordering a pizza. All the protocols were broken.
Every last one of them.
Then why would you call the fire department?
Sometimes the fire department picks up. Oh, the 911 people? I don't know.
Because at that point, you
I don't understand that.
I don't know.
Urban Police Department dropped the ball too. We'll talk about their ass. They dropped it.
The fire department has to call back to the police department.
Because the fire department can't go on a scene until it's cleared by the police. So the fire department's not going to have a shootout with a killer in that big old truck with no weapon. They don't have no weapons.
Ambulance ain't going in. The police got to go first. Police, apparently, according to her family, to Patricia's family, the Urban Police Department didn't do shit. They weren't in the case. Well, her aunt, Patricia's aunt, is a soldier. She said that she petitioned the detective, like, y'all need to go pick her ass up.
Mhm.
It didn't go anywhere, but it's on record. Go pick her ass up because she had something to do with it.
Mhm.
She's a liar. She had something to do with it. And listen, there is no statute of limitations on murder. And I don't know if there's one on conspiracy to commit murder, but Patricia's ass needs to be on trial. When
And
she
Bill.
testified at that trial and she did her victim impact statement, she still didn't fucking cry.
That whole talk to, I don't know if this video get flagged, but that whole talk to old boy that night, hours after her daughters had died, for 12 minutes. Or was it 12 minutes? 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Yep. He was calling you. He was calling her to tell her where he was. I'm safe.
It's the plan. All those calls she was getting, talking about she didn't know who it was, but you've been talking to him consistently for weeks, but you don't know who it is. Oh, they maybe wanted puppies, but you've been talking to them for 2 weeks straight. What you mean?
Know what it was. You were setting this up from the beginning. You went in that house and you got his birth certificate. Why didn't you need your husband's birth certificate if he's on the run?
Computer.
Videotape. Let me tell you something. If I'm gonna go in the house and get some stuff, I'm gonna hand his birth certificate to the authorities. It's in the box on the top shelf in the closet. All of his stuff is right here. Everything. But first of all, I'd have killed his ass a long time ago for fucking with my kids like that.
Would.
Patricia is trash. I hope that Patricia sees this. Patricia, you're trash.
Utter trash.
Just trash. Just trash.
She knows he's trash.
The damn square tissue just pissed me off. I promise you, if I see another square piece of
trash,
it was in a perfect square, and she folded it, and it stayed white the whole time of her interview. Oh boy's mama, Joseph's mama in the documentary had more emotion than mama did. First of all, she was in that documentary way too much. I was like, who the hell is this about? Is this about your son or is it about you? Are you in love with Amina or is your son in love with you?
Right.
Girl. Girl, I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but damn.
The mama and the auntie should have jumped her a long time ago.
Colleen
they should have jumped her that for Christmas. They should have jumped her on Christmas.
You know, like hindsight's 2020, and I know that her family, Patricia's family, wishes that they would have done more in the last moment, jumped her. But in those last hours, when Amina called and was like, my mom's coming to get me, I don't want to go. And she's like, when on her way back, and she's like, get a restraint. When she came back from Oklahoma, get a restraining order. Like, she was telling her the right things, but of course you wish I should have went and got her. I should have went and got her. But of course, you're not really thinking that my sister is going to allow her husband to kill her kids. That would never enter anybody's mind.
What? Would you really not think that the kids were in danger? I would think that when
they knew her, they knew that her sister. She knew her sister was a wench, a raggedy, old, ugly,
dirty
stank.
I'm plugging up my wench. Wench.
She knew. The mama and her should have jumped her. So she came through that door. F some chips. We don't need no chips.
Oh, what was it about the damn chips?
They needed some chips.
That's how she got
take all your kids to go get some chips.
That's a red flag.
That's when they left Kansas.
Not yet.
And she's back. Yeah, this case,
if we see her out in the street,
side eye.
What do you mean side eye? We about to be WWE. Tag me in.
Yeah, it's on site.
Patricia, you are trash.
He's on site.
You are trash.
It's on site.
I for the life of me, I cannot.
And then
I
she
just hope
reviews
she's a
you.
pariah in the neighborhood. Just let her.
Does she even still live out in DFW? Where does she live now?
Oh, you know people know her if they see her ugly ass. She ain't around here no more. Oh, thin-lipped ass bitch. She is not living around here no more. Because if people would recognize her, and she knows that.
Yeah.
She is not gonna stay around Dallas.
I think
I don't think she's smart enough or has the ability or they could have been financing her, I guess.
Really?
The rest of the family.
That was cash. That was
Cash is the dog, y'all.
I guess they could have been financing her to keep her quiet. But after all this has gone down, who's giving her money? It ain't gonna be her mama.
right.
Ain't gonna be her sister. Ain't gonna be her old
And
son.
I don't think her brother, well, her son's in prison. I don't think his brothers, the other two that are still out,
That want nothing to do with her at this point. They brothers locked up.
Yeah, you have no use for us.
Unless
And
she's just on the county.
And you spoke out against him in court.
They did?
She did.
Oh,
maybe she's working down at the Dollar General, girl.
Might be somewhere in Hearst or Bedford or someplace. I don't know.
She working down at the Dollar General.
They lived in Louisville. They lived in Bedford. Like he kept moving them around. Like after he found the letters from between JoJo and Amina, he moved them to Louisville. And it was like he immediately took them out of school. And they're like, because he didn't want them to be close. Like he was constantly moving them around because his control was slipping. His control of them was slipping. They were becoming more independent and not wanting to fall into this subservient, submissive, I'm gonna marry some old ass man role.
She blowing up balloons down to the Dollar Tree.
Girl, they don't even blow up balloons at the Dollar Tree. You have to
they
call.
blow up balloons at my Dollar Tree. You get your old birthday balloon.
They sure will.
$1.25
They're
tree.
supposed to, but every Dollar Tree I've been to, they only got 2 people working in there.
Well, she gonna be one. You know she ain't stocking because they ain't never got stuff on the shelves.
No, you got to tear them boxes open your damn self at Dollar Tree.
So she blowing them balloons up.
Patricia is straight trash. I can't. Now we can talk a little bit about why Brandy says that Islam was slow.
I don't know if he's necessarily slow, but he does have some kind of speech impediment because the way his sisters speak, the way his father speaks was very clear. The way his grew up with his mother and his sisters his whole life, his grandma, his aunties, whoever, his speech was so broken and muddled that he definitely had a speech issue. If he wasn't slow, which I don't know, but he definitely had a speech issue, even from when he was holding that gun in the documentary, talking about how to load a gun, how when he did the interview saying that was talking about his dad, to when he called to cuss the
baby
reporter lady out.
He was hot as fish grease.
His
speech pattern is very broken. It's not clear, and for him to have grown up his whole life in the United States, talk frequent conversations with his sister, his mother, his dad. His dad had a slight accent, but he talked very clear. Islam did not. Islam sounded like he had been somewhere his whole life and was using broken English to convey what he was trying to say. So I say,
he went to school.
Yeah, he went to school. Why wouldn't they educate their son? I can see them keeping the girls at home, but why wouldn't they educate their son? All the men were educated in the family.
True.
They had one that was some old tech guy or something. Something's wrong with Islam. Now, I don't know if he was just slow. I was thinking he might be autistic.
Yeah, I could see that.
I
could.
Just high on the spectrum a little bit.
He might not have been that high, Brad.
I'm not saying he's a savant or anything, but just functional, like highly functional. I don't know. And then I don't know if y'all caught it that one of the brothers was owned a transportation company.
Yeah, I caught it.
Yes.
I said that's suspicious as hell. Even though Yaser worked for a cab company. First of all, I don't know what y'all know. 2008 was right around the time when Uber started, wasn't it? Something like that. I've been in Texas since 2005. There was not a lot of cabs in Texas. Like,
people still use them. I seen somebody's granny down in the Walmart yesterday in a cab.
I understand, but do you know how hard it is to get a cab to come to you in Texas?
Well, I don't know about Texas, but I don't think
it's like a order online type thing. Like
I said, this was somebody's granny who probably didn't know how to use Lyft or Uber or nothing, and the truck was dusty. Like, it should have been nice and old since he ain't had nothing else to do but sit by a phone wait for somebody to call.
Like,
but it looked like
go ahead.
He looked like he backed that thing out of some kind of
he's talking about this
some kind of dark drive, like not driveway, but some type of a garage.
Yeah. I just find it funny that that Yaser was able to support his family being a cab driver.
He was, and his brothers probably helped.
Right. And because listen, the times that I've had to catch a cab or to find a cab,
brutal.
Oh my God, it was like 2 hours. It was not like stopping in a major city. Even though Dallas is a major city, it's not like cab. You don't know.
That's why he was also trying to marry him off to the men in Egypt, because he was talking about how much he would get.
Mm-hmm.
How much he could get for his girls. And I'm guessing because they were younger, they probably came with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because there was some old ass men they was trying to hook him with.
I can't. It's too much.
So
yeah,
I don't think he had a lot of money.
So who are we putting on the list? Patricia or Yaser?
Patricia.
So you think Patricia? I think she was more.
No, I mean, not saying Yaser. He just as bad. I mean, that to sit there.
They're neck and neck.
They're neck and neck. But I'm putting Patricia ragged ass on there because
she's gonna be on somebody else's list. She might not be on that list because we done mess with some real raggedy folks on our, so far. But she on somebody's list.
Yeah, I just think that people who are complicit in crimes are as bad or worse than the person who commits them, because you have an opportunity to make it not happen.
Well, maybe she'll be on the complicit list. Worst crime.
The complicit list.
Yeah, because we definitely gotta put field onions on that list.
We do. It's gonna be a long, but that's gonna be an interesting ass list. I can't wait till we do that list.
Boy, which one? The top 10?
Yes.
Can we do a top 10?
Okay, just right now before
we'll break it up into 2 shows. We're gonna do part. We're gonna do that. We're gonna be
okay. But quickly before we close, Brandy, who's definitely making your list?
Out of everybody we did, girl, on the fly, I just can't think of nothing like that.
Jackie, who's on your list?
She gonna pick that fool with them eyes.
With who?
The dude in Dallas that took the eyes out.
Or taxidermy eyes.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah. I'm probably going to pick our first story, which is Donut Man, and that's because I know him.
I'm gonna go with
the Donut Boy.
Yes, it's because I knew him, and I know how evil he really, really was. So I would put him on there.
Anthony something was his what?
Anthony
Donut Boy
to kill the poor donut lady, and then just like that's messed up. Like she
didn't put it in the trash can. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
it's pretty dirty. And then drive her car around, and then use a credit card.
You think he's worse than the guy with the nipple belt?
No, he's definitely going on. That's for sure. He's the first. He the first. No, we're
But
gonna
I'm
roll.
like, this story had donuts. See, this man had a whole nipple belt.
Well, I
Ed
could think
Gein,
of nipple belt in the moment, but
listen,
he's going on.
Ed Gein is at the top of everybody's
Ed
top.
Gein is always gonna be at the top.
He's
That's
always going to be in the top 10. I
Man.
watched a movie on, I want to say Prime, maybe it was Tubi. It was one of those days and I was just at home flipping channels. But I watched a movie about Ed Gein and it was the weirdest, dumbest movie, but I watched the whole thing. And I mean, it was just,
Did they highlight that belt?
they didn't have a nipple belt, but they
that nipple belt is iconic.
That was unauthorized. An unauthorized interpretation.
I'll have to find the movie and send it to you. It's very entertaining because when he digs up his mom the first time, the sheriff stops him and he's like, "What is that smell?" And he's like, "I was playing with the pigs or something." And yeah, it's just all bad. It's just
for the people who have not heard about Ed Gein, they talk about the first time he dug up his mom. We're like, "What the hell?" And she talking about some donuts.
If it was Tubi, then it definitely was trash because some of them
talking about some donuts. He's the worst. But the people who don't know nothing about Ed Gein talking about, wait, nipple belt, digging up your mom again?
No. What I said was he is going on the list. That's who I can think of first. You didn't even think of Ed Gein first. See? You see how we just pushed him to the back?
I said field onions.
We pushed him to the
back. I know
you
were talking about field onions because you was talking about Albert Fish.
Yeah, we did them both in the same show.
We did an episode on Ed Gein and Albert Fish, and we mentioned some field onions. I think going on my top 10 is the Briley brothers. I'm still very fascinated and very scared of the Brileys. I mean, just when you scare your mama, your mama leaves and your daddy locks himself in the room at night. But you know what? Anthony's parents did the same thing.
Yeah.
They locked themselves in a room.
Yeah. What's his name? Oh, Funky Francois need to be on there too.
Yes.
You know what? We're done. There's
so many.
What gotta say?
There's so many.
What is his name? Funky Francois?
Funky Francois.
Okay.
Funky Francois. Okay, I'm gonna this plug of this t-shirt tonight. Let me turn this down like that. All right, this t-shirt. This is from where I'm from, Riverside. It's Riverside Blue Side Clothing Established. Blue Side International. So if you were from Riverside, California, and you want one of these shirts, it actually has the rain cross on the back. If you want one of these shirts, hit us up on Facebook.
It has what on the back? The bell?
I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Okay. Yeah.
That is the rain cross bell. If you're from Riverside, you know what that is. So again, if you're from Riverside, California, you want one of these shirts, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at Black Coffee Crime. Let us know you're interested in a shirt and I will give you the information. I didn't pay for the shirt, but they also didn't ask me to plug the shirt. I took this from my cousin because it's just what I do when I'm at home. I take stuff. But yeah, so a friend of ours, a friend of my cousin's, has shirts. So if you're from Riverside or the surrounding areas, get yourself one. Just let us know. But also, if you have any comments or questions about anything that we say here, if we misspeak, if we miss something, let us know. Facebook or Instagram, be respectful because we return energy. Also, any story ideas, let us know.
And please like so that we can get some more viewers. Yes. So we can start being in people's feeds. Hopefully that if they haven't deemed us NC-17, which
you know what?
We can't even do that.
I do mark that as not for kids because we cuss. So, if your kid is watching this show, it's because they did something. It ain't us because we said it ain't for kids. But yes, do like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. So anytime we post something on YouTube, you'll know. And then also go to Instagram and like our Instagram page at Black Coffee Crime and follow us there. We post more on Instagram than we would on YouTube. So you'll find out what we're thinking of and talking about before anybody on YouTube. So we will say goodnight. And as Jackie makes her famous face at the end of the show,
I was waiting.
We out. That's her thing. So good night.